the Rowbo Show, only on WXRW 1041, Milwaukee's River West Radio. It's the Rowbo Show. It's the Rowbo Show.
Hey, good evening, Milwaukee. Welcome to the Rowbo Show on WXRW 104.1 FM, River West Radio. And let me hit you with something right out of the gate. Tonight we're talking about college sports as you knew it is dead. Not dying, not evolving, it's dead. And what's replaced it? A full-blown, unregulated, pay-for-play professional league. Hiding behind the logo of higher education. We used to talk about student athletes. Now we're talking about brand managers, agents, collectives, and bidding wars. And yeah, some people will say, well, this is also about fairness too. Players finally getting paid. And you know what? I don't necessarily disagree with that. But let's not kid ourselves about what this has become. Because when you've got 18 to 22-year-olds jumping schools every year, changing for the next best deal, when boosters are acting like shadow owners, when locker rooms turn over faster than a bad sales team, that's not college sports, that's free agency. And we're pretending it's still all about the fight song and school pride. So let me ask you something. If your favorite player leaves your program after 1 year for a bigger NIL deal, and we're going to explain what NIL stands for, was he ever really your player? And this is where it gets a little bit uncomfortable. The schools with the most money, kind of like the Dodgers, they're not just winning anymore. They're buying inventory. So smaller programs and majors, mid-majors and non-revenue sports, they're becoming the farm system. Develop the talent, watch it leave, rinse and repeat. And this isn't just about football and basketball, because when the money gets concentrated at the top, something has to give. And what gives? The sports that do not generate revenue. Think of golf, think of crew. But not every revolution ends clean. Burn the whole thing down. It's just, there are no rules. There's no real leadership. There's no structure. There's no guardrails. Just money, movement, momentum. So tonight we're digging into it, what the NIL really is. And I've got with me as my guest an active Marquette alumnus who not only follows the men's basketball regularly and travels with them, but follows other sports as well. And I just want to say, Jim Oscar Meyer, and I never knew your name was Jim until I met you at Bell & Jerry's. And
but by the way, you're not the only person in my circle of friends who has had that happen. I have had to bring out my driver's license on occasions in the past to validate my given name by my parents. Yes,
that's hilarious. Well, I go by Rowbo, and some people don't know my first name either. So yeah. But let's just break down the language that we're talking about. So NIL means college athletes can make money off of who they are, their name, their image, and their likeness or personal brand. So, and what that actually looks like is endorsement deals, local car dealers, national brands, social media, paid appearances, and merchandising. Now, that's all new. Maybe you can talk about what the term collectives means, Oscar.
Well, first of all, maybe break down really what I think of NIL is.
Okay.
And there's really two streams that provide players compensation. The first is money really coming through the universities, through the athletic departments.
Okay.
The second one is third-party marketing or endorsement deals. If you happen to be watching the NCAA basketball tournament this year, a good example of the latter, a third-party endorsement deal, is you may have seen the Boozer twin brothers from Duke.
They're on.
They were Samsung Galaxy, and I believe State Farm.
Yeah.
Also, and on the Samsung Galaxy one, their father was also in the commercial.
Okay.
Obviously
it's a family deal.
Nice family arrangement there. And last year, Caitlin Clark, the player from Iowa, was doing State Farm commercials as well. So, that's one area. And to some of the points you made in your intro, there are some guidelines, rules, and regulations, but in many cases, it's a bit up in the air still.
Yeah.
And this is going to develop over time, and certainly athletes in many respects have benefited from this. In many cases, though, they haven't. It's done them a disservice.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a tough one. That's going to be evolve over time. I think it's probably the biggest change that has happened in college sports in decades.
And it's in its infancy too. Would you say?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Really, just over the last 5 years since the Supreme Court decision back in 2021, I believe that got
correct.
things going. And then you also have the confluence of the transfer portal, removal of the transfer restrictions, and so the combination of the two is creating quite an interesting stew, let's say.
Yeah. So the collectives, and we talked about this a little bit before the show. I'm calling them the unofficial payroll department for college sports. And they're the owners of the team without the title.
Yeah, so collectives are interesting in that they are evolving as well, and in some cases are entirely going away. Collectives kind of started as ways for boosters to gather money to transmit to the university, and then ultimately to the players.
Okay.
I can tell you at Marquette, for instance, the collective is gone. It's we handle and I do I do contribute to Marquette athletics, and I designate a fund within the men's basketball program.
Okay, and that
as I do for men's golf, men's lacrosse.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's talk about the transfer portal. Is a database where athletes can enter their name and instantly become available to other schools, and I'm calling that the free agency of college.
That's probably a fair depiction.
So it's open market for the talent. There's minimal restrictions, and there's immediate eligibility. There's no contract restrictions.
Yeah, that's correct. And you even see individuals going into the transfer portal who, in the case of certain colleges, they would claim that the player violated their NIL arrangement.
Yeah, right. So you've got the money, you've got the NIL, you've got the buyers. That what I was referring to is the collectives. Let's just call them the buyers, and you've got the marketplace, which is the portal. That's not college sports. That's an economy.
Well, this all has to work out perfectly, doesn't it, Mark? There's undoubtedly this is a business.
Yeah,
and it was a business going back before NIL.
Oh, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's really mirroring corporate hiring now. It's like the NIL that equals your salary and your bonus, your base pay, your signing bonus, your performance incentives, or your marketing or your radio, your social media, however you want to put it. But it's your comp package.
Well, and you find that especially teams that have football, they now have general managers.
Yeah.
So
now
a whole new infrastructure really has been added within the athletic department in certain cases, because part of their job is to go out and hunt for talent.
Yeah.
I mean,
true. Right. So and the other the portal system, you can leave your job at any time and take a better one.
Practically speaking, yes.
Yeah.
Now, a few things I'd point out about the portal, and this is rather interesting because there's a group, the name escapes me, but they've analyzed transfer activity over the last year or two in both men's football and men's basketball. And, for instance, I believe back in January is when the football portal opened up.
Okay.
If you remember, the playoffs were still going on.
Yeah.
and the portal was opening. If you look today in the portal for football, now we're April 1st tomorrow, right?
Yep.
So almost 3 months later, I would guess there are still hundreds of players in the portal.
Wow.
Who have not been picked up. And in some cases, those players go back to their original team and say, "Hey, can I get back in?" And sometimes the answer is no.
No, yeah.
And the analysis also shows that individuals who go in the transfer portal, a higher percentage of them actually end up dropping in stature than moving up in stature.
So there's a risk there.
So there is definitely risk for the athlete.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. So so the NIL plus the transfer portal is basically unregulated free agency, and it's just kind of eroding everything that I think that made college sports special. And I don't know. I mean, did we is this fixing college sports, or is it blowing it up? Is it destroying it?
Boy, I think I could argue that one either way.
I know. Well, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, you think about, I know of my kids have friends that their parents invested a lot of money in their kids' athletic ability in the hopes that they'd get a college scholarship, and that would pay, and that would be a ride, and that would really help them financially. Now that's all changed. Now it's like in the hopes that you can get $1 million contract. That's so different.
Oh, it's very different. Now, one thing obviously Marquette did not have a great year this year, so I didn't need to worry about what they were doing in the NCAA tournament, but I still watched the tournament quite a bit. And from a fan perspective, quite honestly, I'm pretty much equally as entertained as I've ever been. I saw the end of that Duke-UConn game.
Oh, my gosh.
At Pete's Pub on Brady Street, and I jumped out of my stool when that last shot went in.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So I think, it was the deflation of the Duke team. It was something to watch. It's like, so much on the line in those games.
Now, and something that's interesting there, and this gets to the whole subject, I think, of roster construction and how coaches approach building their roster. I mean, Danny Hurley at UConn, I think, has a very unique way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, none of these approaches has necessarily ruled the day across college sports. There's still a lot of different ways to approach it. But I follow a statistical site called Ken Palm that has a lot of information on it. Two things they measure about teams. One is continuity, and one is experience. Another is experience. And, continuity is what you would think it is. It's guys coming back to their team.
Sophomore,
and,
junior,
and
senior.
developing and all that. Danny Hurley does that with about 80% of his roster.
Okay.
And then he fills gaps with transfers. That's my layman's depiction of it. Whereas Duke is very much a freshman one-and-done team. So a team like UConn ranks very highly on continuity and experience. Duke rates very low on both. And so you wonder, could that have been part of the cause of what happened at the end of that game, Duke losing a 19-point lead?
Right.
It happened similarly to them last year.
Yeah.
In the Final Four. So again, we'll never know the answer to that. But
that's one of my questions. So is the transfer portal empowering or destroying team culture?
By the way, I think it can do both.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I go back to when Shaka Smart arrived at Marquette, with Wojo departing, and what typically happens then is players disperse and all that.
Yeah.
Well, Shaka went into the transfer portal and got Tyler Kolek, who left George Mason because his coach left George Mason.
Okay.
And he picked up Olivia Maxence Prosper. Clemson, Georgia. I forget where. But you could argue, and then he had another player, Kirk Queth, the 3 transfers. Well, they built a culture.
Right.
along with Cam Jones, along with David Joplin.
Yeah.
And so, arguably, you could say the transfer portal was leveraged to a team culture advantage
Yeah.
by doing that. And now, of three of the guys I just mentioned, Kolick, Prosper, Cam Jones, all three drafted into the NBA and playing in the NBA.
Right. So I think of the Dodgers and they're 3 out of the last 5 World Series champions, and it's like, are you going to be able, thinking about culture and thinking about these 1-year deals and picking up people on the portal and not building a team over the course of 2 to 4 years? Can you buy a championship with this new free agency in college sports?
Well, recent evidence would suggest not necessarily. And since the Dodgers are blue, I'll chase a team that also wears blue, and that's Kentucky.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Kentucky, by their own proclamation going into the season, spent more than $20 million to put that team on the floor.
Yes.
And they exited in round 2, the round of 32.
Yep.
And they finished the year with a record of 22-14.
So let me ask you this. Yeah.
So the correlation between how much you spend and what you get is not absolute. That's not a straight line. It's a scatter plot.
Yeah. So and the student culture, what the $20 million that Kentucky paid. What happens to those students? Is that a college career they're going to remember and really embrace?
I don't know. I can see how it can become all for the money, and a lot of the college experience is lost.
Yeah.
I'll go back to Cam Jones after his junior year. I mean, there's no question that other teams gave him a call.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt in my mind that he was offered more money than what Marquette was planning to give him and what Marquette did give him. And he decided to stay.
Yeah.
I think largely on the premise that the coaches had said, we're going to develop not only as a shooting guard, but as a point guard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to get you into the NBA.
Yeah.
And
so,
sure enough.
Yeah. So it's
so, players have decisions to make.
That's a career decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're in college, you're playing ball, you are making career decisions now. That is way different than before the portal.
Yeah, and I'll bring up a player that the fans of a team 85 miles west of here would know, the Wisconsin Badgers, A.J. Storr.
Yeah.
So he just completed his 4th year. So he started at St. John's, went to Wisconsin, then transferred to Kansas, then transferred to Ole Miss.
Wow.
And there's no doubt he got a significant sum of money to go to Kansas, and it did not work out very well. So you can ask, and again, you can never know what it would have been had he chosen a different path.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
there's indication that hopping around may not have helped him.
Right. May not have, but it may have too at the same time.
That's correct.
I mean, he's coming out of college with money, and if he's a smart person, a smart kid, he might be able to roll that money into something.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Sure.
So, and then he doesn't have to blow his knees out and ruin his body so that when he's 55 he can play pickleball.
Tis true.
Yeah. Corporate America has contracts, right? The NFL has contracts. College sports doesn't have that. They've got the money now, but they don't have the contracts. And do you see that? Do you envision contracts coming into play?
Well, my understanding is they do have contracts.
Okay, now with the vendor sponsors, or
Well, no, I'm
with
I'm
the
talking,
schools?
yes.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, tell
Oh,
me
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I don't know this specifically. I've never seen one, but
Okay.
I think it has evolved to that, and where there have been these conflicts, you know, like so. Another kind of odd dynamic that happened a year ago was, on these payments, from the university to players. The U.S. House passed a settlement to place a $20.5 million cap
Really?
on those payments per school per year, and that cap went into effect this last July 1st. So there was a bit of a mad rush by many schools to spend money before.
Okay.
And no doubt there were many multi-year payments made. And now you have seen examples of a player having a good first year of a 2-year contract. Well, now I want to transfer to a better school and get more money. And the universities are saying, time out.
Oh, yeah, I believe that.
You made a 2-year commitment. And, so I presume there are agreements and contracts behind it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the movie and Al McGuire's 50th anniversary of the championship team he put together in 1977, and your name was mentioned on national TV. I think it was the Marquette game when they beat. Was it UConn for?
It was the game against UConn.
Yeah.
Tim Brando was doing the play-by-play. Who had worked with Al McGuire when he was at CBS.
Yeah, isn't that something?
So several years back, and he happened to be assigned the game. Those of us on the film found out about it, and I chatted with him the day before the game. He was in on the Friday.
Tell me what
the Saturday game, and he
I
said,
know.
"Hey, do you mind if I maybe put a little vignette together, and we're gonna call this out in the game?" I said, "Hey, man, you do what you want."
Well, and he called you Jim Meyer. He didn't mention Oscar.
He did,
and I was like, "Well, thank God I know that Oscar's name is really Jim now." So tell us.
That aired at the beginning of the second half, and my cell phone began rattling.
I bet. I didn't bother because I've been on the kiss cam with someone that wasn't my wife, and my cell phone went off. It's like, no, I'm not bothering Oscar with this. He knows, he's aware his name was mentioned.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about the Al film and where that's at.
Yeah. So a gentleman named Michael Angeli, who is a native of Milwaukee, he did not attend Marquette, but his father did, and he used to go to Marquette games when he was a kid during the Al McGuire era. And then Michael went out to L.A., Hollywood, had a lengthy career out there. He wrote for Playboy, Esquire, Sports Illustrated. The thing that resonates to me is that he wrote many of the episodes of Battlestar Galactica.
Really?
On television. The second one. Not the Lauren Green one, the second one that came along. But when COVID hit, he and his wife came back to Milwaukee, and he decided to write a script for a biopic about Al McGuire. And so that script has been written and revised several times. It's a biopic, so think in terms of Rudy, Hoosiers. It's not a documentary.
Okay.
So it actually spans the period from 1974, from when Marquette and Al McGuire lost the national championship game to North Carolina State, to his victory in 1977 over North Carolina in the championship game.
Okay.
And we're in the process of raising $6 million from various investors. We're a little over halfway there. We have a casting director looking at who's going to play Al. We have a director lined up, not signed, but who has a strong interest in doing this. And unlike Song Sung Blue, the recent movie that was
Yeah.
loosely based in Milwaukee, this film will be shot and produced in Milwaukee.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I'm looking forward to that. So, well, let's talk about the culture again, because to me that is a big part of the successful college teams.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, how do you build trust in a locker room where everyone knows that the guy next to them might leave for more money next season?
Oh, I think it's I know Shaka Smart reasonably well. I know most of the other coaches at Marquette. I do not envy them.
Right.
It's a job I would not want to have.
Yeah.
Because think of the constituencies you're dealing with now.
Oh.
I mean, you can run through I don't need to recite the laundry list. It's obvious.
Yeah.
Now you have, agents and
Yeah, I know.
Parents, siblings, God, who knows what.
So, and if a smaller school or a mid-level school develops a player, and then they lose them to a bigger NIL deal, who really benefits from that? Is it an opportunity for the player, or is that an extraction by the new system?
It ends up being both.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the reality is the player is going to get more money, but there's some rubble left in the
All right.
in the rearview mirror. No
I
doubt
get it.
about it.
We're running out of time here, so I want to ask some really good pointed questions about the NIL and the portals and what this means. Why should fans stay loyal to players who treat schools like a one-year stop?
Well,
how do you prevent that? How does Shaka Smart prevent somebody from coming in and using his system and his building his skill level to the point that he becomes a bona fide money player?
By the way, that's a great question, and it is something Shaka gives great consideration over, and here's how he does it. I mean, he very meticulously recruits players coming in who he believes will have the staying power so that they can develop and create that culture.
All right.
It is a matter of selection.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's really changing the way a coach has to approach his players and his recruits.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And if you've kind of decided on what you want that end game to be,
right?
In other words, if you want guys to stay and stick it out, well, you better decide up front that kid and his parents and whomever is around him have that as part of their DNA.
Right. Otherwise, it's not coaching anymore. It's whoever writes the biggest check.
Well, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
So you've been listening to the Rowbo Show on WXRW 104.1 FM, River West Radio, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I have with me my guest, Jim Oscar Meyer. Thanks so much, Jim, for being on the show, man. You were awesome.
I appreciate being here. It was a great time.
Yeah. I think we could have gone a little longer.
Another hour or two. Maybe we'll head down the street.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's probably going to happen, knowing the two of us.
Exactly.
So, but NIL, the portal, it's NCAA Madness. March is tomorrow. Thanks again, guys. That was awesome.